Vs TYOB otherwise. I'm certainly not hoping for that. My Banshees testing the field, looking for openings in the spore crawlers. I'm guessing that there's going to be some here, so many shots at that spore crawler, which is bad news for me. But oh, and this is pretty neat actually. I built 2 command centers in my base, and like immediately after we traded armies, I just expanded. I not only took back my old expansion, but I also started taking the gold, and now I need to maynard some SCVs over there. Yeah, see, they just mine out and just pop out into that lovely little ball, so at this point I should be moving them any second now. I suck sometimes. Okay, so there's some Hydras. My opponent's getting I'm not mining at all, but 400 minerals there. Yeah, see, he's just about mined out. And so, like, these 2 expansions are just going to be incredibly critical. I have 4 SCVs just sort of standing there. I have lots of SCVs just sort of standing around from various things. I was trying to macro very, very hard, but I clearly wasn't doing a good enough job. Yeah, my APM is about 70, so I'm doing a little better than he is, but nothing great. Okay, so income. Now my income starts to skyrocket over his. I don't think I got rid of his hatchery, but I did get rid of all of the drones on the hatchery, and now he's got to send them all back in. He is just about mined out on his main once again. He's taken that Zelnaga tower, so he knows that I'm keeping it. And I originally planned to put a planetary and I get 1 tank, and that's enough to scare my opponent off. So that's going to be really helpful for me, because that means that I get to hold on to this for a little while. I get to throw up a lot more Marauders, of course. My SCVs all over here are mining quite well, and this place is starting to look very nicely saturated. Now my income's twice his, so yeah, it's quite a good deal. Okay, move up those Hellions, but of course that lovely tall grass is sort of giving me some problems. Oh, there's Pokemon and then tall grasses. No, wait, Hydralisks. Oops, my bad. Okay, so we have... I'm ticking away at the upgrades a little bit. I've got Infantry 1 and on both, and I don't have any vehicle, but I do have that armory up, so I can build Thors if I want them. Hellions and Thors, yeah. Queuing 2 Thors, not the brightest idea, just sort of gives you a bunch of resources without really... takes away a bunch of resources without really paying any dividends, so... And then, yeah, I'm supply blocked, so I can't even put those Thors out, so, well, there's that. Alright, and I am erecting a sensor tower right here. This is definitely one of the better plays that I've made all game, because it's going to allow me to see things like giant armies moving up the side. At the same time, I'm also already rather suspicious about giant armies moving up the side, so yeah, I think I spotted that, and yep, here come all of my units coming up to... Erosion gets caught in the crossfire, but overseers to the missile turrets, which is pretty critical, because I do have those Banshees still willing to run around and do harasses and basically just have a good time. Got a single point defense drone up here. I do believe I upgraded... Yeah, I upgraded the ability that allows your point defense drones and other Raven abilities to... That point defense drone, of course, is going to keep this base pretty well secure for quite a while, especially since it's got about 200, mana now, so... Very helpful for holding off Hydralisks against anything that tries to rush that siege tanks. And in addition, of course, I'm keeping an army down here, so yeah, this point defense drone is really just very well placed, and I'm very happy with it. And pretty soon it will be dead, but that's alright. Okay, so my opponent, more roaches, more hydras. He's really just, he doesn't have the income to reduce any sort of army, and in the meantime, my income's just completely skyrocketed in that fight. I've got 1,700, 1,800 income, and in terms of resources, I'm actually going with a surplus of about 2,000, which means I actually need to start putting down more production facilities, and here they go. Barracks, barracks, factory, barracks. So, obviously going for a lot more Marauders and Hellions. Probably actually going to put a reactor on one of these factories. I've been producing Hellions out of this factory all game, and it's just been on a tech lab the entire time. Tech lab, tech lab, tech lab, tech lab. Yeah, I haven't a reactor down yet, so no point in switching things around. Oh, and more starports, and sort of an interesting little supply thing there. But just trying to get as many supply depots down as possible, because of course I am supply blocked trying to reduce all of these units. Not supply blocked right now though, so that's good. I probably called down from the orbital quite a few times. And I do have 3 orbital commands, which is pretty... Oh, that one's not an orbital command. Okay. So clearly made some mistakes here, but yeah, that should be an orbital or a planetary, of course. But I have this nice little Marauder army. It's got the Thors in there. That's really quite helpful against the Hydralisks because they do so much damage, but the Thors can just tank and tank and tank, and that allows the Marauders to really just sort of more than make up for this. However, I'm actually in a much better position than I think that I am, and that's because my opponent really hasn't been mining out of this expansion, and once I Banshee harassed him off of the expansion, it took him a long time to saturate it again. So his army's not really all that strong right now, and he's got a bunch of mutas, but at the same time I have those Thors, so I really should be pushing forward. And since I know that he's not making any play on this command, I should be getting suspicious about this hatchery that's coming up here. Yep, I scanned it right there, so I know that hatchery's coming up. Obviously I'm going to have to make a move against it because I can't allow him to even out the income. That would just really kind of suck. Okay, so I've got a couple supply depots coming out here, more starports. Basically I just want some production facilities to allow me to easily reinforce these areas. I mean, for example, if I get some Banshees out of these starports and they're just building, and something comes in and the Banshees just pop out and they're like, hey, Cloak! That's one of the reasons why you build production facilities in places other than your main expansion. It is, of course, a huge loss if you lose that expansion, but at this point I'm just trying to take as much territory as I can and hold it. This sensor tower, so well placed, really just keeping me well... And I mean, it's even better than the rocks, to be truthful. Like, basically, anytime I see an army up here, I can just shift my units down, and it's just easy. This base is looking very, very safe. So, okay, now we've got the mutas, we've got lots more roaches. My opponent's still making lots of roach plays, but of course I am still building lots and lots of marauders, because they're very tough and resilient terrain units. I really should be getting some medevacs out, but I don't have that. I also... I swear, when I was playing this game, I thought that I had been a certain step down, but I never did. So I probably won't be having step by step much later in the game. And the other thing I was also thinking about getting was the shields for those Marines, because I am starting to build quite a few Marines. Yeah, I have 3 barracks here, I have Hellions on reactors, and of course the Hellions do have their blue flames going up. Getting Infantry 1 and 2, that's really useful, of course, especially with like all of this excess money I've got. Almost maxing out supply. My opponent has a much lower army than 8, so that's not good for him. Okay, on the production. Oh, and I have 2 battle cruisers coming out right there. Where did I build the fusion core? There it is, and it looks like I've already researched Yamato cannon, so that's good for me. And first battle cruiser's almost coming out here, so yeah, that's definitely a cue to make a push, and if nothing. Not gonna wait for battle cruiser to catch up. Really bad position. He's got those mutas, but he's not going to do anything effective with them at the moment. Oh, ouch! That really quite hurts a lot. So, yeah, that's not good for him. I wonder how many of those drones I just melted. Take a look at these Hellions. That Hellion has 4 kills, so I guess that's about as many. 0. Yeah. So probably melted about 4. Oh, I've even got 250mm strike cannons. Not really sure why I did that. Guess I just sort of wanted to take away some upgrades. So, you know, if Ultralisks come out, they could be somewhat useful. They don't stun, but they do 500 damage over 6 seconds, so fairly useful against those Ultralisks. Okay, Mutalisks in this sort of... There's not enough of them to really magic box Thors, and of course I do it. And taking a big step with the rock. He doesn't really see my army moving in here. He sees that one Banshee, but he's probably not going to be aware of it until it hits him. So, yeah, and so many Hydras. And Hydras, of course, so fast on food, so effective. How does one battle cruiser just sort of sit on there, can't really actually gonna take down the fire. That's a good deal. So he's basically just looking to kind of yeah, I just floated this through here, and I was like, yeah, he's not going to be able to back up the main field. So floated in the regular base, and of course that's creating huge problems for him because all he's got is that one team. Trying to really close to that score color, but that was really doesn't worry about the score colors. I ain't afraid of no score colors. Okay, my opponent called up the Hydras, and I've got some Vikings. I have a bunch of SCVs here. I just mined out the space. So my opponent takes down some Vikings. Doesn't really want to make a move against this, though, which is kind of surprising, really. That battlecruiser, of course, would be somewhat effective against those Hydras, but there's the ground. Oh yeah, my opponent here, which I'll just send straight across the map to do some damage since he's floating all over the place. Okay, battlecruisers retreat in this direction. Hydras smartly falling back so that they can take some shots. And looks like my battlecruisers are going to see and get out of the way quite fast, actually. So, yeah, that's a good spot. He does have a heavier army at this point, and he has the money for it, but he's not really producing very well out of those hatcheries, and he really needs to expand again. I, in the meantime, have built another command center, floated it over here, loaded it up with SCVs, so resource populate, basically just plan macro very well today. On the other hand, I have far too many SCVs. I mean, I've got all of these ones here, I've got all of these ones here, and yeah, so a bunch of red SCVs there all over the place. So that was probably why it seemed like I had a bigger army earlier, and then I just sort of got utterly maimed. At the same time, he did have a very well composed army, so that allowed him to make some decisions. Okay, Hellions coming up. They're going to see this. They're going to go straight to the Hydras. So many damage after a certain amount of time. Hellions just can't keep up. Yeah, so make a note of it. Okay, so we have a bunch of Marines here. Marines don't have their shells or their... Marines are 3-2, which is excellent. And these Hydras are 2-2, which is very good. So... Hydras are, of course, very good at best unit, of course, since they're around battlecruisers, and I'm just learning this, of course. There are weaklings down here, just sort of broken by the... I didn't build them up. Combat shields up, that's really nice for me. And more Hellions coming down, just basically trying to drill down at those Hydras as much as possible before they attempt to make any sort of push into the place. Reinforce, and there we go. Just 2 Hydras left. They both burrow. Did I see them burrow? Looks like I'm just going to run right past them. I don't think I care to say or not. So. Oh, and there's 6 or 7 more Hydras. Yep, 6. Trying to engage with approaches. My opponent putting up a 4th expansion right here. Very smart play. Distract me sort of with this gold expansion, and even if he loses it, he'll hopefully have some saturation down here, and of course he can continue to produce extra units out of that hatchery. He has plenty of resources stocked up. My SCVs, I don't really have a spot to mine here, so they're just sort of running around in circles. I see that big army coming up. Here come a bunch of SCVs. I'm of course building lots and lots of Hellions and Marines because they're cheap and effective units. I'm sure I'm building Marauders as well, yeah, and more Battlecruisers, more Marauders. So